let's dive into our topic today, and that is food trends and how they impact gourmet houseware sales. I actually wasn't going to start here, but I'd love to start here and talk a little bit about the sustainability movement and how the sustainability movement in food has actually grown with things like straws and stasher bags and kind of how that's taking shape at market right now. I think that's a really interesting kind of thing to talk about. So, yeah, do you want to?
Absolutely.
I'd
love to kick it off.
Yeah.
Basically piggybacking off of what Jody said, sustainability is so big right now. So especially when it comes to our products, all of our clientele are coming in and they really want to not only help the environment, but also, help how they compost and how they affect the environment with how much waste they're producing. So if they can, compost as much as possible or reduce their carbon footprint as much as possible. I mean, we have folks that even want the, boxes that it comes in to be recycled by us, so they don't have to take it home. But one of the things that we really saw this year was the produce bags. Those mesh bags, they just flew, and that didn't really happen as much in 2018. But this year it seems to be the metal straw of 2020 is now the produce bag. We have tons of folks asking for those. But I think it's a really great commitment to our stores to really get involved with the public and kind of educate them a little bit about that as well, because some folks maybe don't know about those yet.
Yeah, that's great. Jody, did you want to add anything?
I think you said kind of everything. Any bees wraps, anything that you can wrap your food with, so you can take it, and it's not. I'm struggling to talk right now. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just think it's not just one generation either. I think it's all generations around that want to, reduce their carbon footprint in any way possible that we can do that. We definitely, talk to people about it, and they won't even be in the store to, get that. They'll be walking around for something they saw in the window, and we kind of bring them over and explain it to them, and they're like, wow, I never thought about that. And, I think it's just, that movement's definitely growing. And like I said, I don't think it has to do with one particular generation. I think everyone wants to work on that.
I know that one of the movements that I've been keeping an eye on and expressing that I've been keeping an eye on for all of you is the organic food and the better food movement. So is there anything going on right now in your stores that is kind of, I know that OXO did a lot of the preservers for the greens and things like that. Is there anything going on right now in your stores that have been really speaking to people in that movement? Are there any products right now that you feel are really speaking to those types of people?
I can speak to
absolutely.
that. And that's pretty much the basis of our store is we are a clean store from the beginning. So every product that we bring in has to be sustainable. So we don't carry plastic as a rule. We won't carry anything that's plastic. And that includes our gourmet ingredients. So we won't carry a product in the store like a spice that's not in glass or paper because of the toxins in plastics. So when we are buying our base ingredients for the stores, what we're looking for is not just the packaging of the product, but the core ingredients. So looking for things that are using yeast extract instead of MSG, the shelf-stable options, what are the companies using to use those? And we're asking our food manufacturers specifically if they're providing clean ingredients as opposed to manufactured and produced ingredients. And for us, it's been really simple to find the ingredients that are right for us. But what we've noticed is, we're in both of our stores, and we'll carry this into the 2 new stores that we're opening, is, customers are scared to ask about sustainability or organic or clean products because they don't know the language. The millennials, anyone under the age of 40 understands the language very, very well. Anyone who's over the age of 40 is interested, but very scared and timid about expressing an interest because they don't have the right vocabulary to do so. So we've really made it a point to over-educate everyone who comes in terms of the organic foods. And we've also seen a real rise in vegan and dietary restrictions. Even being close to Trader Joe's, we're still able to sell a lot of gourmet ingredients because we're sourcing clean. But it's harder to find clean products because when you go to market, not a lot of the products that are clean or sustainable are able to match and compete with some of the bigger brands where that's not their ethos.
What's Karen? I would like to shift over to you, not to put you on the spot or anything, but you are backed up to the farmers market. So can you talk a little bit about maybe what you're seeing at the farmers market and what people are coming to the store and asking for, maybe after they visit the farmers market? Or
Yeah, as Emily said, we're an integral part of Ohio's oldest continuously operating farmers market, and it's quite an institution. It's one of the top 4 tourist draws in our town. So we get people coming in our store who are very concerned about food, where their food's coming from, buying fresh food. We see a lot of, you were talking about things that, like keepers that you keep food in. That has been big for us, and it's getting bigger, where, they want to come in and buy fresh lettuce, fresh produce, but they want to be able to keep it and not have it go bad in 2 days. So it has a big impact on what we see people cooking because it's very seasonal. So whatever's in season at a particular time, and it really changes over the course of the year, from spring through summer. So I think we see an awful lot of demand for particular kinds of products based on what the market is doing and what farmers are bringing in.
does that kind of shift your merchandising or impact your merchandising when you're like, oh, well, now ramps are out of season and this is in season? Or
Right. It does, absolutely, and it impacts the kinds of demonstrations we do. Because one of the things we've found is most important for us is we're small, we engage in customers. The minute they walk in the door, we're talking to them, we're finding out what they're looking for, finding out what they know about, and we will demonstrate, what is the best garlic press, how do you use it, how are you going to deal with all of these greens that you bought. And so I think we're very aware of what they're bringing in from the market, because we see them walking in with it.
Yeah. How does that help you when it comes to creating your demos or things that you're doing in the kitchen? Or how up to speed do you have to be on what is in season, what is hot to help them?
I think it's fairly easy for us because we're right there.
Right.
We're seeing, if nothing else, what people are bringing in the store from week to week. But we also go over, Saturday morning, we go over to the market and figure out what's there and then come back. And if we need to make some adjustments, we can do that. I'd say it impacts us most in terms of what demonstrations we're doing. What kinds of products, what kinds of foods are we talking about? So.
That's great. Tony, did you want to add something?
Yeah, one of the interesting things that we've seen in Austin is a lot of the up-and-coming chefs that are really sourcing food local are now starting to write cookbooks that really show the seasonality that we can get in Austin. And so we have a gentleman in Austin that's pretty acclaimed. His name's Jack Gilmore, and he's written a couple books, and we only have 2 seasons in Texas, so we can only grow certain things. But he's really created the cookbooks where you've got 6 months out of the year where you can get from the farmers market, and then secondly what you can get the second part of the year. And so when we start seeing the chefs starting to write cookbooks and take ownership of it and helping share their knowledge with the community, I think that's really important. I think the biggest thing that hit Faraday's in regards to what we're talking about was really about a couple years ago when doctors really slowed down a second and told their clients or their customers that they have to eat better. It's what they put into their bodies. And I think when we look at the older generation, and maybe 40 plus, if we use that as a benchmark, the doctors are saying, if you eat healthier, you'll live longer, you'll get through the disease or the issues that you have going on with you. And I think that's been the biggest change. I think up to a couple years ago, it really was the Food Network and cookbooks driving the behavior. But as soon as the doctors leaned in a little bit and told their patients that they need to eat better to have better quality of life, it really transformed what's going on at Faraday's. And it really forced us from an educational standpoint to spend time with the customers in educating them around how to eat simply and how to pick ingredients and foods, and really simplify the menu creation processing from that standpoint.
That's great. And I'd actually like to talk to you a little bit. I know you were saying that the restaurant scene is not really the greatest where you are.
It isn't.
So how do you kind of incorporate new ways of eating into what you're doing at the store that maybe your clientele wouldn't be so exposed to?
We do a lot of cooking classes at our store. We've got a large kitchen, and we've got 4 on staff that can do and create different classes. So, we do everything from basic bread classes to cheese classes. We have a men's cooking night where once a month we have men only that come in and do a cooking class. Each month we have a different theme. So like January is Spain, February is Thai food, and we create our classes around those menus. And then we also have basic ones for like multi-cookers and pressure cookers, electric pressure cookers, because that phase has been, the last 2 years has been huge. So we do a lot of classes around that. And that helps, inspire people. It helps teach them, what to use. We work very closely with our farmers market too. We've got a great local farm that does tons of microgreens, and we always incorporate those into our classes and our ingredients. Always using fresh ingredients, and it helps.
Does anyone else have anything that they?
One thing I like to tag on, like Karen said, if you show people different ways to use your product, like I had an interesting one, it was probably a couple years ago. Spiralizers got so big, and I had a gal in, and she goes, God, I just love to get my kids to eat zucchini, but they won't because it's green. I go, peel it. And she came in a couple of days later, oh my God, they ate it. She just, you gotta hide it. Or just a julienne peeler, how many simple things you can do with that. And so, and same thing like a couple of you have touched on is going over to the farmer's market and seeing what's there. But like I said, if you can show people new ways to get rid of zucchini, they love you because when it's in season, there's such an abundance of it. So.
But I actually wanted to talk to you a little bit about what you're seeing shoppers come in for, because Pam has chocolates and goodies, but she also does a lot of shelf stable and things like that. So I'm interested in what you're seeing in your demographic right now.
Well, where we live, which is in East Texas, we're about 100 miles east of here in Dallas. We're in Tyler. Tyler's a unique place. It's a big, entertaining place. All the women, want to have the best and maybe have the nicest party or the newest thing out there or the newest recipe. So we work with that a lot. And what we try to do is take, say, a product, a shelf-stable product, and show, we sort of have this theory that if you're going to be on our shelf, that product can do what it says it can do, but it's going to have to do something else. It's going to have at least 2 uses, maybe 3. So even taking something like, we'll teach people, take that jar of, just say pepper jelly, for instance, some sort of a pepper jelly, and put that in your multi-cooker with a pork loin, and you have got pulled pork in about 45 minutes. That's where I think we're going with ours. And as Emily said, we do have probably as much food, if not more, than we do have, housewares and stuff. So that's kind of where ours is we try to, when we sell the food product usually sells first, and then we tie it in with a housewares good,
I would
something
completely
like
agree with that.
Yeah. You do those fun classes with the product, and you cook it a bunch of different ways,
Yes.
or show it up a bunch of different ways. Can you talk
We
about that?
We do. We
'Cause
came up
I
with
love
this
that.
thing.
I love that.
We were doing classes where we had chefs come in, and chefs are expensive. They're well worth it, but by the time you charge what we call your entry fee, and then you have all your staff with your overtime, you have your food products. It's a 3-a-day ordeal to do 1 2-hour class. Our classes are not hands-on. Our classes are demo. They all sit out in the audience, and then we kind of are back on a deal like this and do our thing. So we started looking at the numbers, and by the time it was all said and done, even with sales, okay, it wasn't as lucrative as what we wanted it to be. So we went to this thing, we call them try before you buy. And we will have a theme. So let's say if it's charcuterie board, okay? We might pull 25 different items from the shelves. We focus on our handmade charcuterie board. That's the hard good there. But then we may have, I'll go back to pepper jellies. We have them with mango and pecan and all these different kinds, and we'll do one dip or whatever with the recipe. But then we'll send around maybe 4 other jellies. They all have tasting spoons in their laps and trays, and we'll say, it would work well with this one, taste this. They pass it down and taste it. Then we say, here comes another one, do this. And that's how we sort of engage the customer and get them to try more things that, it doesn't have to be this one certain recipe. If you've got a recipe, you need to think, oh, if I run out of this, I can put something else in it just as easily. That's kind of what we do. And we have found that to be much more lucrative after it's all said and done than having, and we still do have chefs come in, but than having a chef every single time come and do a class.
Do you ever do those? So we do about 15 to 20 private cocktail workshops a month.
Mm-hmm.
And that ultimately has increased our bar sales by about 200%. But what I love about that is that it's kind of like the try as you buy, but it's just pure money.
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever you're bringing these people, after they've spent 3 hours drinking, they all have to have all of them, plus all the tools. It is the best business model in the world.
Oh, goodness.
Now there's a recipe for success.
I want to add a little bit to it because we do something a little bit different than what you guys are talking about. We do similar events like that, but we started about 4 years ago a series called Simplify, and it's really to simplify your eating process at home. And we set it up as a 5-week program. We do it on Tuesday mornings and Tuesday evenings, and we really take the customer through really a trip to the grocery store on how to shop the perimeter of the grocery store. And then we bring them back and we actually, over a 5-week period, teach them several techniques that they can apply to really any of the food products that they decide they want to eat. Because I think that everybody's diet's a little bit different and everybody's approach to what they like and what they dislike. But once we teach them a technique, and it's hard to teach one technique in one class or 2 techniques in a class, but given a 5-week period, we found that we really can get the customer up to speed and really sustainable by themselves on being able to feel comfortable to go to the grocery store. And it's really about getting organized is the whole process with this thing. If you're going to the grocery store every day or you're going, trying to get the freshest produce, it really gets challenging to really accomplish that goal. And our goal with Simplify is really you visit the grocery store once, maybe twice a week. You're looking for the fresh ingredients as you make the perimeter of the grocery store, and you're looking at it at a technique level on how do I do emulsification, how do I saute, and really pick the best ingredients and come back. And by having that extended period with the customer, when they leave, it's all about confidence in the kitchen. And if you can create good confidence in the kitchen, you'll have success going forward. And that also gives us, lastly, the most important thing, a relationship with our customer and really understand the needs of the customer. And during that 5-week process, as you guys are talking about selling product, that's where we're introducing the hard goods. I will say what's changed from 10 years ago is people don't want 50 items. They really want a small array of cookware. There's really 10 items that we say in 2020 that you really need to have. And if you have these 10 items, really, no matter what you purchase at the grocery store, you're able to come home, apply the technique to it, and really have a healthy meal.
Bren, I actually want to get to you, and I'd love to talk to you a little bit about where you are finding your food trends and kind of how you integrate that into your store.
Well, I want to add to Tony's.
Yeah,
thing,
absolutely.
I'm a small store, and but we're a team working with a retreat. Old Glory Ranch in Wimberley is doing a wellness retreat, and they're bringing in speakers on how to have a better life. And so I'm going to have a booth out there with that and bring sustainable products and things like the wellness mat, or I thought the stasher bags, the shopping bags, the food huggers, the produce savers, the fresh papers, silicone straws, bamboo forks.
So I think one thing that's in the future is CBD cocktails. You're starting to see that already in restaurants.
It's already everywhere.
So what we've done is, when we took over, we tried to. I was a chef before this, and so I tried to bring in things that you don't necessarily see in your average kitchen store. So we brought in, a lot of brands that you'll see in the industry, like Steelite, Fortessa, and especially with barware like Riedel and Notman. These are the things that are being used on a daily basis just when you go out to a restaurant. So how can we incorporate, now we've actually moved a small section of our CBD to the cocktail section. And it's helped a lot with our sales. It's been really great.
Have you seen the CBD cocktail mixers that are out.
Oh yeah, they're fabulous as well.
We don't sell them because we're surrounded by CBD stores. I mean, just it's very evident that Texans like their CBD. But I have been approached by quite a few CBD cocktail mixers, and they look really. I mean, they're like the seed lip but without.
And Seedlip's another fantastic tool.
Seedlip is one of our best sellers.
And with cocktails especially, the low alcohol cocktail is actually a big thing right now.
Yeah, low ABV.
Yep.
Are you all seeing low ABV kind of cocktails? I know I was mentioning cider too for some reason. Well, cider has between a 4 and a 6 ABV, so that's pretty low. Wine cocktails too have been pretty popular because you're cutting your ABV in half if you do that. No alcoholic beer. So is that something that you guys are incorporating into your barware and your drinkware, teaching them how to make things like that, bringing?
I think it's relatively new for us in Austin, but we are seeing, as I've shared before, is we're seeing a lot of bars open up around us, and they're getting a lot of response from the community in attendance because they don't want to be out drinking and drinking and driving and things along those lines. So I'm just trying to watch what the trends are, and really the challenge I have is kind of what you mentioned. I want to make sure that we're selecting the right product sets and we're not just jumping on board to jump on board, but I really want to understand the benefits or really, if there's any risk to the products at any level before we actually bring them into the store.
You know what, here's a question I'd kind of like everyone to answer at some point, and I'm gonna start with you, but I'd like to really know how you get to learn about your food trends quickly and then decide what you're bringing in and what you're not. How do you execute that so quickly, and you are able to get whether it's a hard line or a new shelf stable? How do you get that into your store?
Well, for me, I'm right in the middle of the country, so we're the last to see a lot of things. So your publications, Gourmet Insider, or social media, sorry to say, we're the last to see some of the stuff. But the things you're all talking about, whether it's silicone straws or CBD, you were probably seeing them a year or two ago, and they've just exploded even where I'm at. So I think it's easier now than ever to find out those things, just from the standpoint of just because of digital, forms of information out there. It's pretty easy to come by. I think Tony hit on a huge point. Whether it's our hard good lines or food lines, I think that's one of the hardest things to sort out is what's quality. What do we want to hang our name on?
And how do you get ahead of that? How do you get ahead of that and meet a need for a consumer versus staying behind and not getting those dollars?
Well, this is great. I met people here last night I've never met, and the buying groups and that's huge because, I've always preached you're never going to figure it all out by yourself. Right. There's power and safety in numbers, and you gotta. I look for somebody like with Ann, who's in a similar market as me. She's in central the United States, farm country, and so I try and find places that or other stores that mimic my environment and my customers too, to try to find out what's going on. And that's really valuable to me as far as, somebody in downtown Minneapolis, I'm not saying some of the things won't work, but I think we all have to sort out what's right for us. And that's probably one of the challenges of being an independent.
Yeah, we hire 24 different chefs on our payroll, and they're all private chefs. So the nice thing with that is our customers know that we have access to chefs, so they normally come to us first to say, hey, we've got this dietary restriction, and do you have a chef that really can help us create our daily meals and stuff from that standpoint? And then we find out what their needs are, and we pass that information over to the chef. The chef contracts with them on helping them create their diet that's required. And then we kind of engage with that chef on what they're hearing from their customer as they're building these dietary restrictions. And then we incorporate actually more into our school from that standpoint. But we are a luxury brand. We aren't there. We're here for the long haul. So we do have to be careful in what we're bringing in the door and what we're not bringing in the door. But it's really eating better, eat better foods. If we can really simplify this whole thing, it really is simplifying the process of cooking and simplifying and finding the best foods possible. And we actually teach kids at a very young age this, and it's amazing how quick they are to understand what the change is and what they want, and really to articulate us at a kid level what they want to eat and don't want to eat. And So we're getting it mostly from the chefs that we employ, the feedback from them and the dietary menus that they're putting together for their clients. And it's evolving very quickly. And you don't want to jump too quickly, but I think if you stay really with the basic food groups and fresh ingredients, you really can make huge leaps with your customers on making sure you're giving them the right direction.
You as a chef, I'm interested in how you really figure out the food trends and how you guys execute at your store.
Absolutely. Well, one of the big things is social media, but not only just plain social media. Who are you following? So for me, it's learning about the James Beard Award winners. I mean, celebrity chefs are great. Don't get me wrong. I love Guy Fieri, but I don't think he's really championing sustainability.
You can't say that name in front of Peter.
Oh, I apologize. But it's who you're following, and it's really about what they're promoting and what they're talking about, because basically all these trends come from them. They're the ones that are getting into, we talk about it, fermentation. That's huge this year. We've done a lot of fermenting kits at our store, and it's just starting to pick up now, where we're going back to what it used to be. You used to have to pickle and preserve and ferment everything because there wasn't refrigeration, and we've gotten away from that. So now it's, that fermentation piece is a big deal. But you're seeing that at Noma in Denmark, and you're seeing that even in, Alinea with Grand Achatz. So it's who you're following, and also who your customers are watching. On Netflix, you have Chef's Table. I have so many folks. We actually have it running in our store, so people can be like, "Oh, who is that? Oh, that's Virgilio Martinez," and "Oh, we have his book." So it's basically what your customers are watching, what they're seeing online as well. A lot of folks, they do. They'll follow Food and Wine, which is great. But who are they tagging? They're the ones that are going after the James Beard Award-winning chefs and saying, "Well, you're hot right now. What are you doing in your kitchen that's wowing everyone?"
I think going back to the local food companies, though, I like social media. We follow a lot of the local food companies. And interestingly, about 30 days ago, one of our local food companies called Siete just got $90 million worth of funding. It's a gluten-free, dairy-free product line. And they actually came to us for a chef that could help them grow their business and go out and help tell the story. And we got involved with them about 30 days ago. And it's where you see those local businesses kind of go. Once again, I think sustainability is, shopping in your area and purchasing product and food from the area. So watching what the food companies are doing and following them on social media and see how their businesses are expanding and what requirements they're going to is really important to do.
Yeah. Brent, I want to actually go back to Brent, and I want to just talk about where you are seeing your food trends coming from right now and how you're kind of finding them.
We have a local food truck place in Wimberley and so barbecue is still big in Texas, and but we have a Folices, which is more of the influence of I guess it's Thai. Anyway, so we just try to pay attention to what they're doing and listen to our customers.
Yeah, that's important too, is to figure out what's going on in your local restaurant scene, because that's going to come home eventually, probably sooner rather than later. So does anybody, I know brunch is still it's very big where I am. Oh, and it's big, right?
Brunch is big, and we're kind of the opposite of you. We're in an area of restaurants, the top restaurants in the region are all within, half a mile of our store. And so watching what those restaurants are doing is really important. We've gotten to know a number of the chefs. And so we see people coming in looking for that kind of thing, some of the brunch ideas they've seen, how do we do that? What kind of equipment do you use? What sort of food are you looking for? So those things, I think that and the food bloggers are very important. What we find is even if we haven't caught it in our own looking for things, the customers come in and they'll start asking for something and we're like, well, okay, that must have been on a show somewhere or in a blog, because you don't have a run on truffle shavers like that otherwise.
Right.
Yeah. So it's we kind of find out, at least through our customers, what they've been watching and learning about, and what's the hot product. It may be hot for a minute, but it helps to know that. And working with the small manufacturers, the small vendors who can really cater to that kind of thing, who can turn something around for us pretty quickly and say, oh yeah, we've got that, we'll have it in your store next week. That's really important, getting those relationships.
Yeah.
When I go cook something, I probably make the time to do it, but if you're a spouse and kids, you don't have time to do it. So if you can simplify things and give them just quick little ideas, it's just, I think one of the other things to overcome in our industry, and this has to do with sustainability and a lot of things, and sourcing, is a lot of people don't think they should have a $150 chef knife, or they should have a $200 piece of cast iron. They don't. And I'm not a gourmet chef by any means, but I can cook, and you just have to simplify it for them and say, this is why it's worth it to you. And I think that's important to all our businesses. We all see that as to break it down, because they come in, oh, I don't need to go in a gourmet store, you know. So that's beneficial to my customer base, I think.
Yeah, great. Go ahead.
Emily, I think one thing that for us is so key to stay in front of the trends is our reps. When we go in and see our reps, I mean, usually the first thing out of their mouth is, okay, so this is what's big for this market, or, oh, this is trending all over, you gotta look at this. And we depend on our reps to know that, and that's worth so much. Our markets, when, you know, you shop this Dallas market and you see, you know, the kiosk and the different things with what's trending, that helps us enormously.
know, anything that's picture worthy is going to be, you know, a top seller. Like charcuterie boards, like I said, are crazy. People used to do fondue. They don't do that anymore. They do charcuterie. And anything that's picture worthy is going, you know, people want to imitate that, you know. So whether it be the stasher bags, have your cute little lunch in your stasher bags, or have a beautiful charcuterie, or have shambongs for brunch, you know, I think your customer is going to tell you what you want. Also, you know, Instagram and all that. And then where we're at in Pittsburgh, to stay on the trend thing, we have so many young chefs and new restaurants coming in right and left, and I'm so lucky that I get to like go and introduce myself, and they come into the store and we talk, and you know, that's really like, people are looking for that. Like even with the sous vide, we tried that a couple years ago in the store and it didn't sell, and now everybody's looking for it. So, you know, it's kind of got to be a little behind trend a little bit, I guess.
I think, you know, kind of following up on the charcuterie thing, which a number of people have talked about, I think part of that trend is what Emily said, is simplicity, but it's about gathering and getting together. So one of the things that we do is in that section, if we see people looking at that, they're obviously doing party stuff. So what we do, we will take a charcuterie board, we take it to the artisan cheese shop across the street, have them arrange it, they'll wrap it, take it to your party, and leave the board as a gift instead of taking a bottle of wine, which everybody does, you know. And they're like, "Oh, wow, that's such a great idea." So giving them ideas of things like that they don't necessarily have to even be cooking. It's creating their own statement gift, you know, to the host or hostess.